On today's show, Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, Josh Green, Jason Kidd, the Dallas Mavericks. What kind of expectations do we have for them for the rest of the season? Going into the playoffs, what should we expect? Talk about that and more on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks.
10 Mavericks, NBA champions. Bang! It's good! And the Mavericks have won the game!
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Loyalty never fades away.
And welcome. You're locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Thanks for being part of the show, making Locked On Mavs your first listen each and every day. And every post game, we are free and available on all podcast platforms, including YouTube. But the best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day and to comment anything below. Let us know in the comment section below. What's one thing you expect from the Mavericks for the rest of the season going into the playoffs? One thing. Could be about a player, could be about the team, could be a record. You could go game by game in the comments and predict the schedule. A thing Isaac loves. And speaking of Isaac, joining me as always, my co-host, writer, contributor at Mavs.com, the playoff push person, the One More Thing King. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
I'm actually going to zag a little bit on that. It's not as bad when you do it at this point in the season. It's before the season stuff that when people are looking at trying to predict
the schedule release day,
and people are like, hey, in March they're going to Memphis, and it's like you don't even know where Memphis will be. But at least you hear hey, the Mavericks have the easiest schedule for the rest of the season.
They do.
Now, typically, I'm like, okay. I hate stuff like that. It's like easiest, hardest, whatever. But at this point, in the last 23 games of the season, it actually does mean something because for the most part, a lot of people have already kind of picked their lane of this team's going to suck this year compared to, hey, this team is going to be. So
we know the direction of most teams, except for any of the teams in the West. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, official sportsbook partner of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon today to get started. All right. Today, we're going to be answering your questions. Expectations going into playoffs. What expectations should we have for this Dallas Mavericks team the rest of the season? What's the best potential playoff matchups in round one? I'm looking forward to talking about that. Their ideal playoff bracket going into the playoffs. And then we'll do some rapid fire biggest questions. We had you guys respond with your biggest question for the Mavericks, and we're trying to rapid fire answer some of those in the third segment. So let's start here. Joseph,
you got that music going long today.
I was gonna say, we almost ran out of music. I let it ride for no reason at all. Joseph and Fabian had kind of the same question. They said, what are realistic expectations coming out of the break, the All-Star break? Can we go on a big run? Is the 5th seed and second round exit our realistic ceiling? So let's talk about expectations. What are you expecting for the Mavericks for the rest of the season?
Oh man, the rest of the season, I do think they'll go on a run. Their next 5 games coming out of the break are all at home. It's this homestand here. Actually, I could be wrong on that. I'm looking at the month of March right now. Sorry.
real easy thing we need to get right here.
Just throwing out 6. Actually, it is. Yeah.
You're right. Yeah. It's actually 6 games. You were wrong. It's 6 games.
I wasn't looking at that Spurs game tomorrow night. But yeah, I mean, I think, Kyrie said this the other day. He said, if we were in training camp right now, everybody wouldn't be able to see us working things out on the fly. But this is kind of like their training camp together, and we're having to watch all the mistakes in real time.
Yeah.
And so I think we're going to still see some of that, but I do expect them to win a ton of games down the stretch. And I think they're going to be good. I think the duo is going to be great. And yeah, I think they'll go on a little run. I think, it might be a little rusty at first, but I expect them to come back from All-Star break, play a Spurs team. And I think they're going to get their first win together at home. And it's going to kind of set the ship there going forward. Then they got another horrible team on Sunday. So
Touche.
Yeah, they got the Lakers. So that home stand is Thursday against the Spurs. Sunday, a weird afternoon game home against the Lakers. That next Tuesday against the Pacers. Thursday against the Sixers. Sunday, March 5th, home for the Suns. Then Tuesday against the Jazz. So the Sixers and Suns are some tough teams, but the rest of those teams are Some of the worst teams in the NBA, or some of the bottom level teams in the NBA. So this should be a team that comes out and does go on a run. Like you said, they do have the easiest schedule record-wise for the rest of the season. So I do expect them to go on a big run. I don't know what that means for this Mavericks team. I took a listen to Theo Pinson's podcast today, talking about the Kyrie trade and talking about playing with Kyrie. And like, these guys are so jacked up right now. They're so excited. A trade, much like the trade last year to bring in Dinwiddie and to send out Kristaps Porzingis. A trade just kind of shakes things up. And sometimes you need to just shake things up. And boy, did this team need to shake up something, right? Like it was just a slog even watching this team. Imagine being on the team. So for Theo Pinson, the way he was talking about it on his podcast today was like, it's electric. It's electric playing with Kyrie Irving, having him on the court, being, I've played with him before, but having him with Luka, all of a sudden Luka has a guy. Luka has somebody he can work with. And like he even mentioned, respect to Jalen Brunson. He should have been an all-star this year. Like Theo Pinson said that. He should have been an all-star. But this is Kyrie Irving, right? Like the team is very excited and they're really amped up for the second half of the season. They should come out really motivated, and they do have things to prove, right? This team has something to prove. They can lose no ground in the standings, and so I think they should go out. Is fifth seed realistic expectations that Joseph and Fabian ask? Right now, the Mavericks are in sixth, and they're only 2.5 away from third. So like anything is possible in the standings right now. Like I think if they do go on a run and they win a bunch of their games here, I think 4-3, like they could get home court. I think that's not out of the realm of like realistic possibilities.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, they're just 2.5 away from Sacramento. So, I haven't looked at some of their schedule, the rest of the way, but yeah, I mean, they could go all the way up to 3. I don't see them, hitting that 2 mark. But yeah, I mean,
okay, you don't see them going to 2. However, they do play Memphis 3 times.
Yeah.
Between now and the end of the season. 22 games, they play Memphis 3 of those times. So if they beat Memphis all 3 times, and all of a sudden they like get up there, Memphis also has not been great as of late, right? Like Memphis has gone on a little bit of a slump here. And so if anybody's going to catch the Memphis, like the Mavs have a good chance because they do beat Memphis and they have 3 games against them. So 3 opportunities to take them, which I think is interesting. I don't, it's not one of my expectations to make them to second, but I think they could get there.
Yeah, I do want to like slow down a little bit on the expectation for it because, we are still just, a couple of games into Kyrie and Luka. We say, I think they will win a lot of games. I don't know if we're going to get a 12-game winning streak, in here, but, I think you're still going to see a little bit of rust, right? Like if they came out, I expect them, to win more games than lose in their, first 6 games coming out of break at home. But it wouldn't shock me if, they went 3-3 and, they win one of those really good ones against, the Sixers or Suns, but then, they lose a game against the Pacers or something like that. And we're like, all right, how do we feel about it? But I think that they will end up winning a ton of games. I think the last stretch of the season, we could see them go like 8-2 to finish the year, or 9-3 to finish the year, something like that. That we're looking at and saying, all right, you really figured it out now.
Can we go on a big run? What would you consider a big run?
Yeah, like, you win 10 out of 13.
They got 22 games left. What's constituted as a big run?
Well, okay, let's just take a guess at what their record's going to be the rest of the year.
If they go 15-7, is that a big run?
No.
Yeah, so you got to win more than 15 of your last 22 games.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're looking at, 18-5, something like that.
That's a big run.
I think that's a pretty big run to end the year.
Coming up, let's talk about playoff matchups. Who is the best first-round playoff matchup for the Mavericks? There are tons of options for that. We'll talk about who's the best one coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about FanDuel. FanDuel Sportsbook is the #1 sportsbook in America. They're also Locked On's new sportsbook partner. Go check out FanDuel right now. See what's available for you. Dallas Mavericks regular season wins. 45.5 is the Mavs over-under right now. The Mavs are at 31. So we just talked about if they're going to go on a big run. Under 45.5 is the favorite right now. So you could get some good action on over 45.5. So if you think 46 wins, so you're thinking the Mavericks, what would they have to win? They would have to win They would have to go on that big run. 15. They have to win 15 or 16 out of their last 22 to go over on that one. So go check that out on FanDuel. Check out all the other stuff they have. They don't just have NBA. They have college basketball, NHL, PGA Tour, tennis, soccer. They have all kinds of different things. Aussie rules football. They have stuff for March 16th. Richmond versus Carleton in the AFL.
Oh, Carleton for sure.
Must watch game there. Go check it out. Also, go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. All right, Isaac Harris, let's answer some more questions from our listeners, the Raccoon Squad. You're part of the Raccoon Squad if you listen or watch the show every day. We appreciate each and every one of you. You make our lives so much better. All right, Bates, someone that I've met in person. You know in person. We've known, listened a long time. Says, what are the potential best and worst case scenario first round playoff matchups for the Mavs? Let's just go. What's our best case scenario for a first round matchup right
now? Spurs.
They're out, man. That one's done.
Okay, qualify. Like, who all are you including in this?
Okay, so right now, like the Lakers are 4 games out of 7th. I think the Mavs are going to finish between 3 and 6. That seems good. I don't think they're going to fall into the play-in. I don't think you do either. So let's stay out of the play-in for right now.
Hopefully not. Some things are kind of questionable.
So we're talking about who can be 3, 4, 5, or 6, depending on where the Mavs land. So now our options are the Kings, the Clippers, the Suns, Pelicans, Wolves, Warriors. Let's throw them all in there. Who's the best matchup out of that group?
Man.
I love big ums when I ask good questions.
Yeah, I don't know if you really are asking them. The fans are asking
Bates
them.
asked a good question.
Good job, Bates.
Kings, Clippers, Suns, Pelicans, Wolves, Warriors. Who's the best matchup for the Mavericks in that group?
I think I'm gonna go. It's a toss. I'm going back between 2 teams. It's the Kings or Wolves, and I think I will go with the Kings because of the inexperience. And it sucks because I'm like, I want to root for them so bad and light the beam and all of that. I think we're going to see some really big angling for teams to play the Kings come like the end of the year.
Poor beam team.
It's just new, right? Like it's brand new for them. I mean, they haven't even played in a play-in, right? Like, so, and they haven't even got the participation ribbon to play in the player and, play in play room. But yeah, I think it would be the Kings if I had to, as far as the best matchup for Dallas.
I'm going to go Wolves. I think I'm going to go Wolves with that one first. I'll go Wolves, Kings as the best 2. Pelicans is weird because if Zion plays, that's a disaster for the Mavericks. That is, Maxi Kleber's not having a good week. It's because he has to guard Zion for the whole thing. But he's got a hamstring thing. I just don't expect Zion to play in the playoffs. But Jake Madison of Lockdown Pelicans, I talked to him today. He said he does expect him to play. So that kind of takes that out. And so that puts him down. So I think Pelicans are 3 for me. Then I would go Clippers 4, Suns 5, Warriors 6.
I think I'd rather play the Warriors than the Suns.
Yeah, that's our question now. Who would you rather play, Warriors or Suns? Clippers are out of that conversation, right? You'd rather play the Clippers than the Suns or Warriors?
I think I'd rather play the Warriors more than the Clippers.
Than the Clippers?
Yeah. Here's the thing. I'm worried about the bigger wings right now. Like, I'm worried about, obviously, everybody's worried about KD.
Yes.
I'm worried about Kawhi. I'm worried about, even to an extent, like Brandon Ingram, because like you're now that you don't have Dorian, your biggest wing defender, you're kind of like teetering between Maxey and Reggie. And if Maxey's out there, then it's like, all right, then Dwight's out there if Maxey's guarding like KD, because then Dwight's got to guard Ayton. But if you're like running Maxey at center, then you're running like Reggie at the 4 or Josh at the 4, and they're like, what, 6'5", 6'6"? And that's where Dorian's 6'8", 6'9" frame came into play against a KD, Ingram, Kawhi, something like that. So that's where I just get a little worried with it. That's why I'd almost lean towards playing the Warriors more than the Clippers and Suns, and that sounds blasphemous.
I've heard Dorian's not playing that well for the Nets. Brooklyn, you just give him back. Just send him back. Can you
just wave him?
Just for like the playoffs run.
Actually, I don't think we can pick him up.
Just for the playoff run? Yeah, that's true. They couldn't. It'd be like the Boban thing. They can't just wave him and you pick him up.
Too bad we don't have Terrence Ross.
Could have had him years ago too. Is
2019, 2023.
The Suns, I don't know what they are, but I also know that they're not defending the Mavs either. Like, who's defending Luka and Kyrie on that team now without Bridges? And even Bridges didn't do that great of a job on Luka last year. But
I actually think KD would.
I mean, yeah, but then KD's picking him up. So
it's more like who's guarding Kyrie.
Yeah, that's the question. Is it Chris Paul?
They'll throw bodies at.
It's going to be Booker, right? It'll be Booker or Okogie or Torrey Craig or whoever else.
They'd probably start Okogie, and say, "Hey, have fun."
But I think the Mavs are a matchup problem for the Suns, just like they were last year, but in a worse in a worse way for the Suns. Yeah. The Warriors are just such a bad matchup for the Mavericks. Like, just everything that they do. The team that doesn't rebound ever out rebounds the Mavs because of their bigger guards and wings and because of Looney. But the Clippers, this Westbrook thing, I just don't know what they're gonna do.
It's incredible.
I know.
I'm so tired of playing the Clippers in the playoffs. Can we just not? Can we just avoid?
It's so possible right now. They could be the 4-5 very easily.
It's so annoying. I can't do it. I would, we didn't talk about, like, what if one of these other teams catch Memphis? Sacramento's 3 games behind. The Clippers have I know the Russ thing is Russ, but, like, they could go on a run and it wouldn't shock me, at the end of the year. Or, even like Phoenix, whatever. Like, if somebody passes up Memphis, I know this is could really come back to haunt me, but I'm just not scared of Memphis. And, like, Memphis would be on one of my list of, like, hey, I would rather play. This is going to get dangerous here.
Throw Memphis in the list then.
I'd rather play Memphis more than I would want to play the Clippers, Suns.
Warriors?
No, I'd want to play the Warriors. I know I would want to play. I'd want to play I would want to play the Grizzlies over the Warriors.
Wow.
Yeah. I'd put Memphis behind Sacramento and Minnesota as, like, I'd probably put the Pelicans over them, but there's just something about it. And, see, they don't have the big wing, like,
no.
Josh's job, but, like, they throw Josh at him and just say, all right, have fun with that.
Run around.
And good luck guarding Luka. They're not going to guard Luka. And
Dylan Brooks is just going to hurt him. Like, that's their answer there.
Yeah, I mean, he would try to guard Kyrie, I guess, but it's just they're a really well coached team. I don't know. There's something about them. I'm not.
Well, the thing about Memphis is what I've been saying all year on Locked On NBA is they're the worst half court offense team of any contending team in the NBA. Like, the Lakers are 2 points per 100 possessions better in the half court offensively than the Grizzlies are. If that tells you anything of, like, how bad they've been. So, like, when you need a bucket, when you need it most, they have not.
Somebody asked a question about the path, like the path of the playoffs that you'd want.
Yeah. So
what was that exact question?
What's your ideal bracket for the Mavs if you had to? So we would rather play the Wolves. The Wolves or the Kings or the Grizzlies are kind of like our top 3.
Yeah, this is the parameters I would go with. I just want to play one of the Nuggets and Suns.
Yeah,
because that's just who I want to avoid in that second round. The most. Can we force them to play each other in the second round to where if you made another conference finals run, you just have to play one of those teams in the conference finals?
Yeah, if it stays the way that it is, that's the case. Nuggets would be 1, and then the Suns are 5, so they'd be in the 4-5. So the Nuggets would play potentially the Suns in the second round, and that's what you want if you're the Mavericks.
Honestly, if the playoffs ended right now, that would be the season end right now. This was how I'd want it.
Honestly, because the path for the Mavericks would be Sacramento in round 1. You're feeling good about that one.
Yeah.
Round 2 would be whoever wins between
Memphis and Golden State.
Yeah, Memphis and the Warriors probably, or Timberwolves,
Pelicans,
or Timberwolves or Pelicans. So you're probably playing Memphis second round. What if it's Memphis Wolves again? Like, just run it back from last year. Yeah, then you're playing them. You're feeling pretty good about either of those matchups, and then conference finals. Now all of a sudden,
like right now, you would avoid Denver, the Clippers, and the Suns in the first 2 rounds.
That's the ideal one. That's to answer Victor's question. That's the ideal bracket is the one that we have right now. You're also avoiding the Warriors.
Well, I mean, if the Warriors finish at 8th, that would be the perfect one. If they finish at 7th, then you're playing, Golden State or Memphis in the second round.
Yeah.
I prefer not to play Golden State.
I think Memphis beats the Warriors this year. They're a bad matchup for them, whereas the Warriors are a bad matchup for the Mavs. It's kind of weird. Like
I would not bet against the Warriors like round 1 against anybody if they're healthy.
Every team right now is avoiding the Lakers, so
that's true. Even Anthony Davis.
Coming up, let's answer your biggest question for the Mavericks. We had you guys respond with, what's your biggest question for the Mavericks? We got answers. We'll answer those coming up. All right, Isaac Harris, let's answer some of the biggest questions that Mavs fans, the Raccoon Squad, has for the Mavericks. We'll try to answer them in like one sentence, and then you can elaborate on it.
Here we go.
I'm doing it. Just like we did yesterday. Steven says, if Mavs play Clippers in the first round with both rosters fully healthy, what outcome would you anticipate?
Long series, Dallas pulls it off.
Yeah, Dallas in 7 for me is the answer.
I'm not going to say I would feel like really confident in it though, but
the Clippers team has been weird. They're not a good offensive
I feel more
team.
confident that they have Russ.
Imagine Russ like last minute of a playoff game. He's closing a playoff game and he just jacks up a 3 when they need a bucket. And the Mavs get Josh Green gets a long rebound and runs it to the other end and dunks it. And you're like, wait, what just happened? That was like a 6-point swing.
You know what would sell me on the play-in? If the Clippers dropped and they played the Lakers in the play-in and they beat the Lakers and it's like Russ, just like sticking it to the
doing
Lakers.
The Patrick Beverly like shirt off on the scorers table like he did for the Timberwolves last year. That's what would have to
in Crypto Arena and
Crypto. I own the crypt. Like he just yells something like that. Escobar says, why does it feel like Kyrie signing barely moved the needle? Like we took 2 steps forward, but 3 steps back.
No. You took a step back to take a massive step forward. Like it, you definitely took a step back because of like chemistry and, adjusting to another star player coming in. But it feels that way right now. But legitimately, you walk into every playoff series having a legitimate chance now because you have Kyrie.
The answer to Escobar's question is because they've only played 2 games together. That's the answer. There's too much like looking at just the immediate, almost got blown out by the Wolves, so this team must not be very good. Okay, let's give them some time to figure it out. It's going to take a little bit of adjusting. It's going to take more than 2 games for them to figure out how to play together. You got 22
that Kyrie fourth quarter against Minnesota should be the biggest thing that we hold on to right now. I'm like, holy crap, we have somebody else that can do that.
The reason why we've been talking about a second star next to Luka for so long is because a second star covers up so many weaknesses. I talked about this on Monday. How many things Luka covers? Kyrie covers almost as many of those things, right? Like you have now 2 guys that can cover your weaknesses and now can cover Luka's weaknesses instead of just it's Luka and 3-pointers or bust. That was it. That was the whole calculus for the Mavericks all year is Luka and or 3-pointers and bust. Sometimes both, sometimes one or the other can carry the other. But now you add Kyrie into that mix and it's a different formula.
Yeah.
Mets Mavs. I don't know how you become both of those, but says
weird Venn diagram.
Which Mavericks role player raises the Mavs ceiling throughout the playoffs? I take this as who's the role player that steps up all of a sudden and we're like, oh dang.
I feel like the easy answer is gonna be Josh, but I'll say Maxey.
Yeah,
I think if Maxey can. I remember. I mean, he hit 1 million threes against Utah last year. He was a big reason why they won that series, and he shot 50% from 3 that series.
Yeah.
If he can be that stretch 5, that same Maxey again come playoff time, and hold his own as the stretch 5, defending 5. Paint protected 5, switchable 5, all of that in the playoffs, then that raises the ceiling for me almost more than it. Like Maxey's the guy that if you came down to the end of the year and you picked one player that you could guarantee like full health for the playoffs, I would pick like outside of like the stars, I would pick Maxey over anybody else.
I think between Maxey, Reggie, and Tim Hardaway, you got and throw Christian Wood in there too. You have 4 guys that can hit like 4 or 5 threes in a game, and that can swing a playoffs. Like, so I think the Mavs have a lot of these answers.
Tim's a sneaky answer to this because Tim's going to play a lot. Yes. And if Tim got hot, if he got like rookie sophomore game, over
what, 9 years ago?
Yeah, over the span of like a month and a half, and he just went supernova for a playoffs, like that would just raise so much for the team. He
was the second leading scorer for the Mavericks when in the second Clipper series. So I mean, we've seen him score in the playoffs before. Didn't play last year. Johan says, "What should be the voice of the teams in?" Who should be the voice of the team in terms of defense now? Since Dorian is gone, who should be the voice of the team?
Kyrie.
Defensively.
Kyrie.
You think it's Kyrie?
I think it's Kyrie, yeah. I don't know who, like, Josh doesn't have the pedigree yet.
No.
Reggie doesn't, he's not as talkative, I don't think, as Dorian. You can make the argument if Dwight was better, it'd be Dwight. Luka ain't leading nothing defensively. So it's Kyrie. I mean, yeah. Who's your answer?
Wow. Yeah, no.
Tim? Hey, guys.
I immediately got
something that I'm not.
I immediately got taken back to that clip of Jason Kidd on the sidelines going like stay home, Doe, stay home, Doe, stay home, Doe. You remember that like over and over again?
I guess it's Kidd.
I was gonna say the voice of the defense is probably Sean Sweeney or Jason Kidd. That's probably the answer. Kyrie's an interesting answer to this question. We'll find out. They need a voice. They need somebody to step up because this defense is all about communication, and somebody's got to be the one to do it.
Kyrie's going to be the vocal leader of this team, like right now. That's just how it's going to be.
That's a lot for me to take in right now. Man on the street says, why won't the Mavs sign bigs?
Like free agent bigs right now, like Whiteside, Cousins, Aldridge, or
my answer to this is this.
JaVale McGee.
They tried. Like they tried to sign one. They didn't have a lot of, they couldn't just go out and sign somebody that was better than JaVale. Like they didn't have that option this offseason. So
there's still a chance they could just go out and sign Wall and Cousins right now.
I was gonna say Cousins is not gonna be the answer. LaMarcus Aldridge is not gonna be the answer. I don't think Hassan Whiteside would have been the answer. Is he better than JaVale McGee right now? I don't know. Probably not.
I honestly don't know because I mean JaVale's been playing okay right before the All-Star break, but before that he wasn't playing at all. So
yeah, but Hassan Whiteside's not on the team. He's not playing at all.
Very true.
So that's that. I mean, so if you're asking about buyouts, then the answer is there's a bunch.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we've talked about this a little bit, but it's like, all right, if you're going to sign Aldridge, you already have McGee. Is it worth is Aldridge that much better, than JaVale to just flat out DNPCD all this, JaVale for nothing just to get a guy off the street? But
last one we'll do here. Matthias says, are the Mavs better prepared going into this year's playoffs compared to last year's playoffs?
Somebody tagged me on a tweet today that it was like somebody was like listing out the roster of like last year compared to like this year. And it was just like comparing the two. And it's so,
yes, I know the exact tweet that you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was, I looked at it and stared at it probably longer than I should have. It's like trying to compare the two things. Kyrie's an upgrade from Brunson. All right.
Correct.
So we got to just clear that out. Even though Brunson played really well on the court, Kyrie is an upgrade from Brunson on there. It's just defensively, and Maxey's health is the biggest thing for me. Yeah. And we got to see when he's going to come back. He's not quite ready yet. We've seen, McMahon tweet about that today. That's the biggest thing. Losing Dorian and then like a non-fully healthy Maxey, that changes a ton for this team. So I don't know. Like, what was the exact question again?
Are the Mavs better prepared going into this year's playoffs compared to last year? I think they have better pieces overall, considering you have Kyrie. I think the team's not as prepared because remember the plan last year, or the game, like the flow last year before even the Porzingis trade, which happened early February, they had already started to go on their run. They had already started to climb, to be a top 10 defense, they found their identity. They had started to win a bunch of games. Brunson had taken a step forward. Like, they had already started that a month ago. And then after the All-Star break, they just continued it. And they had the third ball handler. They had a good defense. Their defense had been playing together, after they got all the guys back from COVID. So this Mavericks team has less time than last year's team to get going. So I think they're going to be less prepared, but I think they have better pieces.
I think they have a higher ceiling this year because you have two all-star starters. Yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Lower floor probably because of the defense.
I was just going to leave it at the higher ceiling part.
There you go. Guys, let us know in the comment section below what's one thing you expect from this team going forward. Go check out Locked On NBA. Pat, the designer, and I are hosting it today, talking about the Atlanta Hawks. So if you want to hear about the turmoil of Trae Young and the Atlanta Hawks, hey, remember when Luka versus Trae Young was a thing? Remember that?
Wow. Remember when Trae Young was an all-star?
Remember when Cam Reddish was the reason why they won that trade?
Where did he get traded to?
Go listen to... He went to the Blazers.
Oh, yeah, Portland. Yeah.
Go listen to Locked On NBA today. Guys, thanks for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom!